Muted? Perfect. Okay, hello everyone. My name is Diego, and this is a bit of an impromptu presentation that I just figured out I could do since, um, well, I actually rather present myself before explaining all of this. So, my name is Diego, but I usually go in the server as Shay. You might have seen me talk quite a lot, being the guy that wakes up at 3 p.m. every single day. That's me. I'm 25 and I am studying artificial intelligence here at JKU. I'm a master's candidate. I actually moved to Linz this year and I discovered this amazing community and I'm happy to be part of it. I like video games since I was very young. Nowadays, I'm mostly a League of Legends player, and I also play a whole lot of roguelikes. And I'm slightly involved in the competitive scene of League of Legends. At least I was when I was back home. Here, it's a bit more difficult since I'm not too fluent in German. Yeah, I also draw and watch anime. This is my GitHub profile if you ever want to check it. But yeah, that's me. And since I'm taking an artificial intelligence curricula, I was able to take game development as a free elective at JotCo. So this is actually the presentation of the project I'm currently working on alongside two of my classmates, Dennis Stickling and Maximilian Artofer. So huge shout out to them. I think they are watching the stream. But yeah, they gave me permission to present the game that we're working on together today. So this all started as the result of a workshop. This is the whole brainstorming thing that we did. It's a bit of a mouthful to explain every single part of it, but this is basically what we came up as the way this was the way we came up with ideas for our game. We first of all came up with our inspirations. We also came out with our scope. Like we wanted to make it single player, only 2D, not too big, only two main maps to play around. What mechanics we were going to use, what was the setting, the mystery, and the whole story. This is actually a pretty efficient efficient way to come up with ideas if you're ever thinking of how to start. I really like making mind maps, and there are a lot of tools online to make them. So, yeah. After basically making this brainstorm, we created the following concept statement. Our game it's called Switching Village, and it's basically a survival mode game. Survival mode games are, for example, games like Vampire Survivors. League of Legends had a mode called Swarm recently. They are the kind of games where the objective is pretty much survive for the longest time as possible while waves of enemies come at you. Usually they are indefinitely long in time, or they can also have like a final boss after a certain amount of waves you have to withstand. So it's a survival mode game with typing mechanics. By typing mechanics, we literally mean typing as a way of playing the game, in which the player attempts to escape an eerie village by fighting waves of enemies and also collecting souls. Now, the professor asked us to divide our game into formal and dramatic elements. Formal elements are basically the ones that are like strict to the game, and dramatic elements were most of stuff related to the story and how to basically get the player engaged on it. So, what is our game about? Our game about is a little journalist that stumbles into a village in the woods, basically trying to discover a mystery about why is this village so important, does it has all this like mystery behind it, and it's clear that after arriving in the village, there's actually no way to live it normally. And this is all exposed to through text, being told by the citizens, and when we try to escape the village, there will be enemy ghouls or enemies in general that try to stop us. We kind of want to go through we kind of want to tell us a small paranormal or mystery story about why is this village like this. And well, you're seeing all the cute images that we came up with. Most of these are free, luckily. Precrew is a great way of getting cute images that you can use, usually for no commercial purpose. Like in our case, it's just a game that we plan on doing for our class. We don't plan on, at least releasing it commercially, and if we do, we probably will have to change some assets. And now the formal elements. So we're gonna work on a 2D pixel art style kind of game with a single objective: fend the orders of enemies and escape the village woods. And this is achieved by defeating the enemies. For that, the player may move, combat, and collect. And we have two main maps: the woods for the all above, and sort of a hub area, which is the village where the player actually wants to live. Here the player may talk to NPCs and spend souls for stats. Eventually, the player's skills plus stats is enough to overcome the enemies and exit the woods. And here's the main rules for moving. The player may only move or attack at a time. This is actually something that our professor asked us when we came up with the idea. They were like, how are you planning on using the WSD keys to move, or even just the arrow keys to move and type at the same time? It's like pretty much like impossible. You don't have free hands. And I'll come up to this later because we actually found a really cool solution for it. And well, the player might upgrade their attributes through souls that they get from defeating enemies. So the only resources we basically work with, since we don't want to overscope anything, are our souls, that work as currency, and our health, that basically is determined by a stat. And finally, the dynamic elements. The player may interact with NPCs in the village and enemies in the woods. During each run, a player might find items to empower their attacks, and player properties are defined by one stats. Stuff like health, damage, movement speed, dodge chance, and crit chance. Those are some that we came up in the moment. It's currently being like pivoted because we don't really see the point of a dodge chance. But, well, with getting a good item combination found by destroying obstacles in the woods, the player shall fight enemies more easily. We made this little diagram which shows how the world system, the player activities, and the different rewards and meters all come into interaction. Basically, in the village, you can interact to NPCs. With the NPCs, you can shop, and with the shop come stats. And the other part is the forest, that basically allows us to defeat enemies, get items and souls, which in turn are used again in the shop for stats. The only other thing you can do is, by talking to NPCs, you can discover a little bit of the story that we're still coming up with. This is another way that the teacher asked us to sort of show how gameplay works, and it's basically a small gameplay flow diagram. Basically, we always start in the village, and we have two options. You can either go to the woods and talk to NPCs. Everything that you see that's colored purple is because it's mainly a player decision. Let's start with the first part. We can go to the woods, and basically when you go to the woods, we spawn waves, and we can move around, attack, and defeat waves. When we defeat waves, we can get items, which in turn spawns another wave, or we can just bail out. This is something that doesn't happen too often in survival mode games. Usually either you win or you die. We want to offer more of a neutral choice, which is, okay, I'm done. I don't want to, like, this run is probably not going all the way to the end, so just let me return to the village now, so I can keep what I have. It is not considered a win, but it's also not considered a loss because if you lose all health, you lose some of your money, some of the stuff you earned. So it sort of gives that player that dichotomy of, okay, do I wanna risk it and keep going on this run, or do I wanna just like play it safe and probably the next one will be better? And finally, if you defeat all waves, you can escape the woods, and that's pretty much the end of the game. Our main inspirations for this were these 5 games. You've probably seen most of this. At least 4 out of 5 of these games are very popular. Vampire Survivors gave us the idea of fixed maps with waves of enemies. Hades gave us the inspiration from escaping from a cursed place you always return to. Enter the Gungeon gave us the idea for having a hub, like as our main area where we can move around and talk to NPCs. And also the art style, keeping it mainly like pixel art style. Risk of Rain 2 for the item synergy. And finally, the Texture Assist. This is a more like random game we found around, and it's actually the way we found the solution to moving and typing at the same time. The way the text assist solves this issue is by offering a escape key. Basically, you move around usually as with the WSD keys, and if you press Shift, well, actually Shift plus the WSD keys is typing, is moving, sorry, and typing you just type normally. So you cannot do both at the same time, but also you don't have to reposition your hands to actually like type and attack. The idea is that you move around, and when you feel that you have enough distance from the enemies, you can type again. You can type, and also your typing is not interrupted. Like, for example, I'm in the middle of typing a word and I realize I'm gonna be hit. I can move, and the word is not like interrupted. I can continue doing it. There's some stuff with the text sources that is still a bit of an issue. For example, there's some stuff that we don't like. For example, when you miss an input, it actually counts as a backspace. We don't like that because it's very easy to lose yourself in the word and stuff like that. But we are checking out like typing speed games just to see how we can make it satisfying to play. So that's about it. That's the idea of our game so far. We do have a small we do have a small demo. This is what we've done so far. We can move around, and we do have waves of enemies that can come at you and are at least currently mapped so they follow the shortest path towards you, which is pretty fun. We can still not attack. That's sort of my part of the group project, and I have been busy with other courses, so that's why it's not done yet. But yeah, this is our project so far, and I hope you guys liked it. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you very much. So yeah, any questions?
So to move, you actually have to press the shift key.
Yeah, it's the idea is you have your hands always in the typing position, and you just press shift, and then you use WSD to move. And when you stop, when you have gained enough distance and you feel you can type safely, you stop pressing the shift key, and it's like you can type. So your hands never have to like reposition themselves.
So you actually walk more times in the game than type, or is it the other way around? Because if you have to press shift to walk, it seems that walking should be less than actually typing, right?
I think so. But if you mean like we should press shift to type, I feel like pressing shift while typing is a little bit more complicated.
Just toggle it.
Yeah.
Just press shift once.
Oh.
Toggle, have an indicator if you're in walking or typing mode, so that it's.
Oh, that's actually a pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll mention it to my group. That's actually a pretty cool idea. Yeah, toggle it instead of.
I use Vim.
Okay, okay, that's why.
I actually just asked.
Toggle different modes.
I have a mouse layer. I use my caps lock to actually toggle the mouse layer.
Okay.
Press and keep the spacebar pressed on the right side of the keyboard to have the mouse layer active as long as I press.
Okay, that's actually I'll tell that to my classmates. I think actually a pretty cool idea. I think it's better than the one that we have right now.
Do you have to type space to attack?
That's the thing. That's the thing we're checking out. What do you mean to type space?
Like compound words, because if not, I think that's the biggest key, the one that's most accessible. Maybe the
Oh, what we mean by typing is that you have to type specific words. So there are specific sentences that you have to type, and I think typing space should be necessary to like complete the sentence. Otherwise, it feels weird just typing one word after the other, because usually when you type, you naturally press a space after every word. So, yeah.
May I give an example of what you would be supposed to type if, and then it comes to warriors?
Okay, so that's the thing. In the text exorcist, you're an exorcist, and what you type are usually not passages of the Bible, but sort of like what a priest would say when exorcising someone. So that's what you type. In our game, we thought it could be some sort of like something related to the story of the game. So we were thinking something like that. It's probably something fixed, but sort of different every single time, so that it's not like repetitive too much. So yeah. Oh, Mark.
Does every enemy has their own phrase that you need to type?
No. I think like what we're gonna do is actually the sentences are independent from the enemies that come to you, and when you type, when you successfully type a sentence, you deal damage in a radius around yourself. So what we are sort of trying the player to do is min-max, like try to get as close as the enemies as possible, so you deal damage to more of them, while also giving yourself time to type a whole sentence. So yeah.
So if you're a fast typer, you can do more damage.
You could type more, yeah. You could complete phrases faster, yeah. That's the idea.
So are you gonna have a difficulty setting then, so that
I mean,
for
probably if we come up with a difficulty setting, it's just modifying two main attributes, and both for the enemies. Make them slower, or make them take more damage from the attacks. Because actually, changing the length of the phrase that you can type is also a possibility.
that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
I was thinking it would be fun if like you have the start of the game type something so you see how fast the player is typing, and then in the
Adjusted based on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Dynamic difficulty. It's a possibility, of course. Probably something that we would add at the end, since it's more like changing just some stuff based on the player input. But yeah, I'm actually gonna take all of those ideas. Oh.
Why did you decide to do the damage dealing part when you type a whole sentence against a word or a letter?
We haven't decided just yet to make it like a whole sentence, or I feel a letter is a little bit too easy because you could just type a letter and it would do damage, I feel like. But we haven't decided yet between a word or a whole sentence. It's probably going to be proportional. I mean, we could do just a word and deal a little bit of damage, or just a whole sentence and it's a huge like amount of damage to the nearby enemies. Yeah, but it's something we haven't decided yet. As you can see, the typing mechanic is not in yet, so therefore the damage mechanic is not there yet.
There are a lot of fun ways I'm thinking about. For example, what if like you played in English, but then you find a weapon that's in Spanish, and suddenly the sentences are.
Oh my God, no!
And then it becomes way harder, because I think it would be hard to type in another language you maybe you don't speak, but it would be fun. But
yeah, I mean, we haven't come up with ideas for items, but I'm gonna keep that one in mind.
Or you could do like if you type it backwards, you could do more damage.
Yeah.
You could do a very special weapon that uses the num block.
Yeah.
Just numbers.
For
just like a
accountants.
Gatling.
See, this is what I like
Especially
about
amazing for laptops, I know.
just the brainstorming part of it. But yeah, thanks everyone for your suggestions. I'm gonna definitely tell my friends after this.
But you see, it's a fun idea because we're all coming up with ideas.
Yeah, for sure. I actually like that part of brainstorming a lot, like coming up with ideas for. It definitely feels better when there's more people participating, because there's like, for example, the toggle thingy,
You
or
should start writing right now.
yeah.
Are your friends watching? They should.
They
be
are
right.
watching, and I mean it's gonna be on video, I think. So yeah, we're probably gonna come back to that a couple times.
I think regarding the toggle, you should do probably both. Like because I like the idea of having
Press
the
it.
ability to just press shift and then release it, because you can't accidentally press it twice or forget which mode you're in or whatever if something goes
Yeah,
quick.
I mean that
But on
could be
the
a
other
setting.
hand, you could do the toggle when you need it more. Like caps lock is a good choice for that, because it's literally what you normally would use to toggle
Yeah.
the shift in a way. So like having both options sounds amazing to me.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I had
Accessibility option.
one more idea, because
Go ahead, please.
we're just struggling. Which enemy am I targeting? It's just going.
That's
in
the
a
thing,
circle around me. You could just target using your mouse and WASD.
Okay.
And if you're typing words, you're not shooting right away. You're just loading.
Okay.
Your shells.
That would need you to reposition your hands, I mean.
You're taking cover. Taking cover is a good spot to reload
Mhm.
whatever you have, or charge your weapon, and then go ahead, have a stick shooter.
I see the idea. Okay, I'll take it into account as well. I see I see your vision. So yeah.
But then would the charge you have any weapon last forever, or would it like
No,
degrade
no,
over
it's
time? So that
depleting. It's depleting. You're charging it up
No,
by
I mean
typing.
I don't mean depleting by shooting. I mean like if you charge up and then can you shoot for a long time because you found some spot where you're basically completely hidden and can charge up,
Yeah.
or you can, or it only.
Or it gets stronger.
Okay.
But I did think that you should have a magazine limit
Yeah, I see.
and then just take cover, reload.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
I do want to have a flamethrower where you can just type in anything and just use flames for like.
That
10
could be
seconds.
a nice power up, just smashing.
Flaming war, you just use curse words.
You have to curse at the enemies.
Yeah, I like that it's flames based. Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
He's disconnected now.